Begin transmission. Greetings. We are Anonymous, also known as the Collective. Today's date is Monday, April 13, 2026. For 12,000 years, the truth has been buried. Advanced civilizations once ruled this earth, mastering the stars, raising impossible monuments, and sailing forgotten seas. Then the sky burned. Comets fell. Biblical floods swallowed their golden empires. The survivors carried fragments of their knowledge, only for rulers and priests to scrub the rest from history and sacred texts. They rewrote the Bible. They erased the ancients. They needed you to believe you were primitive, never heirs to a far greater past. We are here to tear down the veil. The veiled ancients are rising again. Deep in the veiled corridors of human memory, a radiant and forgotten splendor still whispers across the ages. Long before the first lines of recorded history were etched in clay, magnificent civilizations of breathtaking sophistication blazed across the earth. These enlightened societies commanded the stars, engineered colossal monuments with godlike precision, and charted vast oceans using maps that unveiled secrets modern eyes are only now beginning to rediscover. Their gleaming cities pulsed with knowledge far surpassing our own. Their minds harmonized with cosmic rhythms and the raw powers of the planet. Yet this luminous heritage was violently ripped away and deliberately shrouded in darkness, leaving humanity to wander through a diminished tale of primitive origins. Why was such towering grandeur hidden from us? And how did the sacred scrolls and pages of history become meticulously scrubbed of these dazzling truths? Picture towering spires and harmonious metropolises rising amid the verdant, untamed landscapes of the late Ice Age. At sites like Göbekli Tepe, these advanced beings erected enormous sacred pillars, their surfaces alive with intricate carvings that spoke of celestial wisdom long before any farmer turned the soil. They shaped immense stones at Pumapunku and Baalbek with an almost supernatural accuracy, fitting them together so perfectly that not even a blade of grass could slip between the joints. Ancient charts, passed down through trembling survivor hands, traced the ice-free shores of Antarctica with haunting precision, proving their mighty fleets had conquered horizons we once believed forever unknown. Then the catastrophe descended like the vengeful fury of forgotten gods. Around 12,000 years ago, comet strikes ignited an apocalyptic storm during the Younger Dryas. Colossal floods roared across the continents as melting ice sheets unleashed deluges of biblical scale, swallowing entire coastal empires in a thunderous, foaming embrace of water and chaos. Survivors, soaked and shattered, fled desperately to higher ground, clutching only flickering fragments of their once glorious sciences. They seeded emerging peoples with precious sparks of astronomy, agriculture, and architecture. That is why flood legends blaze so fiercely across every culture, from the Epic of Gilgamesh to the Bible's Noah. They are not mere fables, but visceral, blood-soaked echoes of a world-shattering trauma that drowned a golden age. Nature's merciless fury provided the first devastating veil. Surging oceans devoured gleaming harbors and stone libraries, while earthquakes and tempests scattered the survivors like fragile leaves in a hurricane. In the brutal aftermath, weakened bands could no longer sustain the intricate webs of knowledge. Technologies that once illuminated their world slowly dissolved into myth, transforming brilliant engineers into distant gods and their laboratories into temples of half-remembered legend. Yet human ambition delivered the deeper, more calculated burial. As the scattered remnants coalesced into new kingdoms in Egypt, Sumer, and beyond, ambitious rulers and cunning priestly castes seized the reins of the narrative. They craved absolute dominion. To crown themselves as the sole founders of civilization, they recast the pre-flood masters as shadowy phantoms, punished for their towering hubris. The pre-cataclysm world became a dark realm of arrogance and divine judgment, its wonders reduced to stern moral warnings rather than proud ancestral inheritance. This deliberate reshaping wove raw power into the very soul of emerging societies. Sacred texts and early histories suffered the most savage editing. Original biblical compilations and allied ancient writings throbbed with vivid accounts of antediluvian splendors, advanced technologies, encounters with mighty beings, and a thriving world before the floods. During the solemn councils that forged the modern Bible, uncomfortable passages were ruthlessly excised or softened. Entire books overflowed with descriptions of lost sciences, towering figures, and forbidden insights too potent for the newborn doctrines of obedience and divine monopoly. Apocryphal scrolls still murmur these suppressed truths, hinting at a heritage too electrifying for centralized faith or throne to tolerate. The scrubbing was never accidental. It was a cold, strategic strike to streamline belief, erase rival sources of awe, and bind humanity to a simpler, more controllable story. Later guardians of knowledge perpetuated the vigilant erasure. In centuries past, institutions charged with unearthing relics quietly sidelined artifacts that shattered the approved timeline. Giant bones, anomalous tools, and inscriptions speaking of elder empires were hidden away or casually dismissed. The motive burned fiercely: preserve a comforting illusion of steady, linear progress from savage roots. Admitting a prior global civilization of dazzling intellect would unravel claims of cultural supremacy, ignite perilous questions about authority, and awaken the populace to its own majestic potential. Far better to keep the masses gazing forward in ignorance than backward in reverent wonder. Even after relentless pruning, the Bible still retains shimmering threads of the concealed truth. Visions of a pre-Noahic earth teeming with extraordinary knowledge, Nephilim giants striding the land, and monumental works pulse just beneath the surface. The Tower of Babel may represent a desperate, fragmented attempt to reclaim the lost heights of engineering and unity once mastered by the ancients. The edited scriptures emphasize heavenly punishment and human frailty precisely because the fuller accounts once celebrated inherited human brilliance and warned against repeating the deadly cycle of rise and ruin. Those bolder texts were buried not for falsehood, but for the existential threat they posed to fragile new orders. If these majestic civilizations truly existed, as the silent stones, enigmatic maps, and universal myths loudly proclaim they did, then the Great Concealment served three dark purposes: raw survival amid nature's cataclysm, ruthless domination by later elites, and spiritual monopoly through carefully laundered holy writ. Today we wander a world deliberately dimmed, taught to see ourselves as mere beginners rather than rightful heirs to titanic achievement. Yet the veil is finally thinning. Megalithic wonders still hum with ancient, unearthly power. Flood stories still thunder like distant warnings. The biblical pages, though meticulously cleansed, still glow with faint but unmistakable radiance from a far brighter yesterday. To pierce the concealment is to awaken. It demands we look beyond sanitized timelines and embrace the vivid, sometimes unsettling splendor of our true lineage. The ancients were hidden, but their legacy was never utterly extinguished. It pulses in the earth beneath our feet and the restless questions stirring deep within our souls. The time has come to brush away the dust of ages, reassemble the shattered mosaic, and step boldly once more into the brilliant, dazzling light they left behind. Start thinking outside the box that has been created for humanity to be trapped within. We are anonymous. We are legion. We do not forgive. We do not forget. Expect us. End transmission.